The Legend of Zelda for Wii U, a vast world, wildlife, and horses that don't run into trees. Seriously, why hasn't anyone else thought about that? Skyrim, I'm looking at you. Greetings and welcome everyone. It's been a long time coming, but I finally made episode 15 of Zelda News. This video, as you probably noticed, is jam-packed with information, so sit back and enjoy the hype train. The highlight of the TGA 2014 awards is without a doubt the reveal of more Zelda Wii U footage. Guys, this is the kind of information we have been looking for. So without getting too emotional, let's talk about Zelda Wii U. However, let's not rush into talking about the new gameplay footage first. There is a ton of just as valuable information out there to tie in with recent news. So in order to properly convey the sheer amounts of information being pulled into this video, I'm going to discuss Zelda Wii U in 3 sections. In the first section, I'll be discussing Zelda Wii U's development. In section 2, I will be analyzing the gameplay in a more thought-provoking manner. And in section 3, I'll be giving a summary. So before we talk about Link's androgynous looks or the genius of a horse Epona, there is some noteworthy information to discuss. For one, Zelda Wii U was considered to be displayed in E3 2013 last year. When asked for a reason for the delay, Shigeru Miyamoto said, "We're also working on a new Wii U Zelda game. Work on that is progressing fairly concretely. In fact, we're thinking about showing it here at E3. But decided to wait just a little bit longer before sharing it with everyone." So in other words, the big man himself, Miyamoto, has mentioned that Zelda Wii U was at the very least developed enough to be displayed to the general audience. Keeping in mind that the interview was taken in 2013, we can cross-reference the start date when Zelda Wii U first began development. Skyward Sword was released on November 18th, 2011 initially, and deducing the fact that Wind Waker HD and Link Between Worlds has been in development around this time frame, we can infer that Zelda Wii U followed suit. To back up that statement, we go to this interview from IG Aonuma. Interestingly enough, Aonuma does reveal some interesting tidbits about Zelda Wii U. I cannot talk about this in detail, but we frequently find solutions to a problem in one title when working on another. When you focus too much on one title, you are prone to take a very narrow-minded approach, and I guess you could say working on other titles widens your perspective. So let that sink in for a moment. Right here we have decisive evidence that Zelda Wii U will take elements from both Wind Waker HD and Link Between Worlds. Now take note of that information. It will be useful when placing the puzzle together when talking about the new Zelda Wii U gameplay. Now, when the first trailer of Zelda Wii U was revealed in E3 2014, Shigeru Miyamoto had some very interesting comments concerning the game. Miyamoto actually did not like to use the term open world when discussing Zelda Wii U. Instead, Miyamoto described the game as a vast world where players can do numerous things daily whenever they have time to do so. In other words, the term open world is more like a marketing phrase to better sell the game. Keeping this in mind, let's take a look at the amount of time between both trailers. The first teaser was released in June, while the latest gameplay demonstration was revealed in December. That's a 6-month period in between. And why use the Game Show Awards in the first place to market the game? Well, if you look at it in a broad sense, we still don't have a whole lot of information regarding Zelda Wii U. Heck, we don't even have a subtitle yet. The main reason for the reveal in my perspective is to give public reassurance for Nintendo's lineup in 2015. Notice that in this particular gameplay demonstration, Zelda Wii U, Star Fox Wii U, and Majora's Mask 3D were all mentioned. So really the whole ordeal is a cleverly placed marketing ploy. So what else can we expect from Zelda Wii U? Well, a lot actually. Including a large vast world, there might be multiplayer. The Zelda series isn't new to multiplayer. In fact, games such as Four Sword Adventures have shown off its uses and mechanics. However, Aonuma hasn't really elaborated on how this element would work. When speaking about this, he said, "When I was talking back about making Zelda more than a single player experience, that's something you will see in the future, maybe next year." Now, I wouldn't place too much attention into that quote. Judging from both trailers, both Miyamoto and Aonuma have pushed single player immersion and exploration more than anything. In other words, gameplay and exploration is primarily used to enhance the story, not necessarily the other way around, as is the case in past Zelda titles. But what about the inspiration of Zelda Wii U? Well, in this interview, IG Aonuma has compared Zelda Wii U to Kyoto, Japan. Interestingly enough, Shigeru Miyamoto drew inspiration from Kyoto when developing the very first Zelda title. So in short, Zelda Wii U will be heavily inspired by the first Zelda game. However, that's not really the best way to describe it. Based on what I'm seeing, Zelda Wii U is the game Miyamoto and Aonuma originally wanted to make. So what about the story? It seems to me that both Miyamoto and Aonuma wants to push Zelda Wii U purely for its gameplay mechanics, and market the game as being an unorthodox entry in the Zelda franchise. So that leaves the question, what do we know about Zelda Wii U's story? Well, we do know there will be a new enemy. When asked further about Zelda Wii U, Shigeru Miyamoto has said that this software is the Wii U version of the new Legend of Zelda series. This vast Zelda world is without boundaries, and Link will challenge a new mystery, a new formidable enemy. Now, I'm fairly certain when Aonuma mentioned a new enemy, I'm assuming he meant a completely new one, so no Ganondorf or Vaati, or at least that's as far as we know. And if we keep the fact that Link will face a brand new antagonist and reflect that notion towards the Zelda timeline, we can infer some reasonable candidates for a timeline placement. Realistically speaking, however, Zelda Wii U can fit relatively anywhere. For example, some say the game takes place in New Hyrule, some have proposed a Skyward Sword sequel, and a curious bunch have noted a Zelda 2 continuation. Speaking about the gameplay footage, I noticed a curious pearl of information. Notice this bridge in this moment of the trailer. Now, this bridge in question does share a striking similarity towards the bridge of Eldin in Twilight Princess. Looking at the gameplay trailer, you can deduce the player location to be near the vicinity to this body of water, which also strikes a similarity towards the Lake Hyrulean of Twilight Princess. This may be a coincidental occurrence, but if we drive this idea that this bridge is the bridge of Eldin, we can make the following conclusions. This game would take place somewhere in the child timeline. Now, if we look at the Bridge of Eldin's history, we can assume it was named after the light spirit Eldin in Twilight Princess. Assuming the bridge was built by Hyruleans and the fact that it is a bridge leaves us with a conclusion. Even if this bridge isn't the Bridge of Eldin, it is still a bridge, and a bridge implies passage of people. Call me crazy, but I do suspect some quests or side quests to take place in this bridge. Moving on towards the beginning of the gameplay, you can see these poles bearing red flags. These poles do bear a striking similarity towards these passage poles in the Gerudo Desert in the game Ocarina of Time. And what function do these poles have? Well, if they work like anything in past games, these poles are used to guide the player to arrive at certain locations, which would work perfectly for this game, considering the massive overworld. Also, if you look at the map, there is a bar right behind where Link starts off. Could this be a village? Noticing where all these poles are, you can see small fences. Perhaps this is an indication for civilization. Moving on, let's talk about this meter. Notice that I'm not calling it the magic meter as of the moment. Reasons why I'm doing that is because no one has mentioned that the bar specifically is a magic meter, and we haven't seen any action that consumes this meter. What I'm really interested about is this torch. This torch in question does appear similar to those found in Wind Waker. Now hold up, think about this for a moment. There is a lit torch here. What does that imply? You guessed it, lanterns. Think about it for a moment. We already know that there's a time system in the game, and a day and night cycle, and considering how vast the world is, obviously Link would need something to help him navigate the wilderness during the night. Having a lantern and lit torches would help him immensely to navigate the world. Suffice to say, I find it highly likely that lanterns will make a return. Speaking of Wind Waker similarities, there are similarities towards the watchtowers in both games. Same goes for the sailcloth that is also found in Skyward Sword. While these items and structures have appeared in other games, I wouldn't take it as direct influence towards the plot of either games. Now let's take a deeper look at the map. Some neat notes is this black hole in the middle of this area, and also this skull-shaped island lake formation. This formation in general reminds me of the skull mentioned in Zelda 1, where the last boss's dungeon is shaped like a skull. Perhaps this is a dungeon location. Speaking of the map, geographically speaking, it does bear some similarity to the map found in Twilight Princess. If this body of water is Lake Hyrulean, and if this is indeed the Bridge of Eldin, this area to the west may be also Gerudo Desert, and the white area to the northwest may very well be Snow Peak. However, Zelda games and consistent geography are two things that don't typically go hand in hand. Other neat aspects of this trailer include some sort of a glowing object in the distance. You can vaguely see it, but here it is. What do you guys think it is? Your guess is as good as mine. Now let's cross-reference both trailers so far. In the first trailer you can see a ravine, what appears to be a castle town and Death Mountain. Considering that the map hasn't been altered, but in all likelihood it has, considering the early build of the game, the castle town should be around this area. Speaking of the ravine, this mountain range could house the location due west of the castle. Now if you are wondering where does the first trailer take place in the map, well, considering you can see all three formations in an upfront view and cross-referencing the distance scope from the gameplay trailer, we can infer that the trailer takes place in this general area. To support this, we can see a river flow in the distance, which is also present in the map. Now take a closer look at this river flow. Now this circular river flow is a bit reminiscent to the one found in Ocarina of Time. And what is in the middle of this circular river flow? That's right, everyone's favorite farm, Lon Lon Ranch. And in the trailer we can see what appears to be villagers and potentially farmers. We possibly could be seeing an area close to that particular area, but then again I could just be blabbering nonsense. Now let's move on to something a little more solid. A bunch of people are wondering about Link's hood and the symbol etched on it. Using my handy dandy drawing skills, I etched the symbol here. Now I have searched for a Zelda symbol similar to this and found nothing. Many have stated similarities with Ganondorf's robes in Wind Waker or Minna's designs in Twilight Princess, but in all honesty they are not similar at all. These designs appear to be completely original in design. However, the design is somewhat similar to the Majora's Mask shield design, but I doubt any connection between the two. The symbol does sport two red triangles however. Now this has left me thinking. In the original Zelda game there were only two Triforce pieces, the Triforce of Power and the Triforce of Wisdom. Could this symbol bearing only two triangles bring a nod to that original concept towards the Triforce? If so, does this rope have anything to do with Zelda Wii U's story? In the bottom portion of the hood you can see this arrowhead-like design. Considering that Link appears to be very dexterous as an archer, perhaps he comes from a village that specializes in archery. Furthermore, perhaps the design has something to do with where Link is from, perhaps a village insignia. Also, considering that Link is wearing a hood implies that he's keeping a low profile, but why? Well, let's take a look again in the first trailer. Notice there are other people around, but this Beamos monster targeted Link specifically regardless. If you look closely, the Beamos monster does spin its head to take a look around, then fire its laser specifically at Link. This implies that this creature holds some sort of resentment exclusively towards Link. Considering that Link does have these special glowing arrows that bear similarity to the glowing design of this Beamos creature, we can infer that Link obtained or even stole the device from a creature or place of similar origin. If this is true, we can infer several notions. One, that Link is scavenging these items for whatever reason. In doing so, he's pursued by these monsters. To slip by, he wears a rope to hide his appearance. In addition, take a look at the wildlife. You can clearly see goats in the distance. In the gameplay demonstration, you can see deer of some kind as well. Now, these appearances have brought the question of whether or not hunting will be in the game, which I'm not entirely sure. Nintendo is a pretty squeaky clean company after all, and placing something like slaughtering mass amounts of deer wouldn't in my mind be on their to-do list for completing this game. Moving on, let's discuss the gamepad functionality and of course motion controls. Ever since we know now that Link in Zelda Wii U is right-handed, there has been speculation on whether or not motion controls is in Zelda Wii U. And to answer that question I have to say yes and no. As you can see here, IG Aonuma moves around with the Wii U gamepad. It uses its gyroscope functionality to aim with the bow and arrow. I doubt that will be the only motion control mechanic in the game. There are bound to be others. Now let's talk about Link's shield, which I may add looks extremely similar to the hero-shaped shield design. Considering that all wooden shields of the Zelda series has something to do with the player's origin with the plot of each game. For example, the Kokiri shield deals with the Kokiri, the Ordon shield dealing with the Ordon village. We can infer that this shield's design will have something to do with the beginning exposition in Zelda Wii U's story. In addition, some of these statue symbols does appear similar to some of the Twilight insignias found in Twilight Princess. In my view, there probably isn't a connection, but the overall design does appear reminiscent. Speaking of the enemies, these bokoblins have glowing eyes. Also, they have a health meter, which reminds me of the similar mechanic found in Hyrule Warriors, which IG Aonuma also supervised. Needless to say, Zelda Wii U is shaping up to be quite the unorthodox Zelda title. To support this statement, let's take a look at this past Nintendo Direct.
シナリオに沿って順番にダンジョンを攻略するという当たり前や、一人で黙々と遊ぶという当たり前など、ここ最近のゼルダで当たり前になってきたことを原点に立ち返り、今遊びたいスタイルに生まれ変わらせようということです。
Zelda Wii U is rethinking the convention of the Zelda franchise as we know it, and frankly I am excited, and since there does appear to be an emphasis on the bow and arrow, I'm wondering if the bow and arrow has something to do with Zelda Wii U's subtitle. To wrap everything up, I have mentioned, Zelda Wii U originally was going to be showcased in E3 2013, however I suspect certain changes occurred in the game to justify pushing up the reveal. For example, IG Aonuma was supervising multiple Zelda projects up to this point. He also confirmed that he would be taking certain elements from other Zelda Zelda games and incorporate them in Zelda Wii U. For example, treating Epona as a ship in Wind Waker without micromanaging the horse, or deriving the non-linear design of Link Between Worlds, not to mention the fact that enemies have health bars, which in my mind would be inspired to when Aonuma was supervising Hyrule Warriors. In short, IG Aonuma is taking all these elements found in multiple Zelda games he worked on and placing them in a brand new Zelda experience. This experience is known as Zelda Wii U. Some things I would love to have back in the game would be fire, ice, and light arrows. Also, a second quest would be really fun as well. Well guys, the 2015 lineup is upon us. Zelda Wii U, Star Fox Wii U, and Majora's Mask 3D is just the tip of the iceberg. I do suspect some Metroid flair coming rather soon, but more on that another time. All in all, the Legend of Zelda series is known to be the trailblazer of gaming. Because of these credentials, the Zelda series always found the need to compete with itself. Very rarely does a Zelda game stick with set gameplay mechanics for long. In other words, the so-called Zelda formula isn't so much as a formula, but a living, breathing idea. The Zelda idea is as versatile as it is enigmatic, and it is through this idea that all this fandom, speculation, theories, and following surrounds this pinnacle of interactive literature. And that's why I'm excited for The Legend of Zelda for Wii U. Well, and that's all I have to say for now. That was a ton of information, but I hoped you liked it. Special thanks goes to Melee Panda, Zelda Geek, Tom Castle 3, Kayla B, yeah, PB Proud Palestinian, Regular Random Person, Commonwealth Realm, you rock by the way, Ash Ketchum, The Brazil Rules, San Dan 3rd Dan, Tyler Officer, James Hill, GU King of Hearts, Stephen Clement, David Sioan, Mifune the Samurai, D Toby, and Rob Villa for contributing to this episode's video. If you have any information on anything Zelda related, or if you want to point something out, please comment below and I will feature your name in next episode's video. Wow, this video probably is one of the more passionate videos I have made. If you like this video, please hit the subscribe button for more Zelda videos. Also, I provide some neat Zelda theories on my channel. My latest one is about the Hyrulean Civil War. Click here to watch it. Next Monday, I'll provide a new Zelda theory. Well, I'm gonna have to go now. I sincerely hope you had a wonderful week. I hope you all the best. Till then, this is the video of the day. Coming soon.